is the definition of new school. I wish somebody would explain that to me. All I've been hearing since I came over to the UK is the new school this, the new school that. Well, you know what? There's no such thing. Because I, the king of the old school, Steve Corino, has destroyed each and every person that says they were new school. Solid gold, you're next. You're next. Every guy that's come up to me and said that they were the leader of the new generation went down. So let me ask you a question. Solid gold, look into these eyes. These are the eyes of the king of the old school. Time is coming for the new school to go down.
The voice of British wrestling, and I'll be your host for another 30 minutes of FWA action. Tonight's TV main event is Steve Corino, the king of the old school, versus Solid Gold's Scott Parker. Before that, let's get to the ring where James Tighe awaits Jack Xavier. Xavier, since his debut way back in episode 1 of our series, has become something of a crowd favourite in the FWA. And who can blame them? He's got it all. He's spunky, funky, chunky. He's everything that men want to be and women want to be with. Am I a Jack Xavier fan? You betcha. The stark contrast to Jack Xavier's personality and joie de vivre is James Tighe. He's a wrestling robot. He's Frankenstein's monster, made in the image of a wrestler. Early exchange by the two men there. Headlock takedown by James Tighe, taking Jack Xavier to the mat, and a head scissors. James Tighe cleverly get out of the head scissors, kick back into the corner of the ring, a nip up, and now a monkey flip. But James Tighe lands on his feet. Jack Xavier's ready for him. Run into the corner, an arm drag, taking Xavier down. Another arm drag takes him down again. James Tighe pushes Jack Xavier over the rope to the floor, buying himself vital time. Where look, we had a monkey flip earlier, and there's the king of the monkey, Van Cam, picking up Mark Sloan, beating on Jack Xavier behind referee Andrew Coyne's back. Get a grip, Coyne, you're losing control already. This is the trouble, of course, when you're facing either James Tighe or Mark Sloan. You know it's never going to be one-on-one. The other one is always going to be there. What can Jack Xavier do to level up the sides a little, to even out his chances? I believe in him. I believe that he's probably got a few little tricks up his sleeve to make this an even playing field. Went for a power slam, but James Tighe behind. Waist lock, couple of elbows to the face. Xavier into the ropes, leapfrog over, catches James Tighe sleeping, runs him over the ropes to the outside, where if it was the other way round, he'd have Mark Sloan waiting for him. As it is, Mark Sloan is there to pick up James Tighe, impart some advice, and get a boot in the face from Jack Xavier. Isn't that a pretty sight, ladies and gentlemen? Mark Sloan and James Tighe lying prone on the ground outside the ring as a triumphant Jack Xavier stands over them. But he's not even giving James Tighe time to rest. He's taking him back into the ring. Huge suplex takes Tighe down. Xavier now going up top, but Mark Sloan's grabbing his leg. He's hooking him on. Sloan there again, interfering. Surely that interference is going to prove vital tonight. Let's hope Jack Xavier can combat it. Let's hope he can overcome it. And a roller, a cradle. Only Only a 2 count by Tighe. He thought he'd take his chances. He almost got the 3 count. Referee Andrew Coyne down to count very quickly, but James Tighe couldn't get the 3 count. Jack Xavier kicked out on 2. Huge clothesline taking down Xavier to the mat, and now James Tighe is lauding it, showing little respect for his opponent, slapping him and now putting him in a rear choke. Referee, check that that is not a chokehold. Check that it is legal, because I don't trust these guys one bit. Once again, only a 2 count. Referee Andrew Coyne signalling to the timekeeper that this fight isn't over quite yet. And now a German suplex. Only a 2 count again as he's going for another. 2 German suplex. Will he go for the 3rd? I believe he's going to try. 3 in a row. So very nearly a 3 count. This is the kind of James Tighe we like to see. Getting it done in the ring with no help from Mark Sloan. But look, Sloan's up on the apron again, remonstrating with the referee. It was a fair count, Funky Boy. Get down. An exchange of punches and clotheslines missing. Xavier sending Tighe into the ropes, and a spine buster! A spine buster slam! Once again, only a 2 count. Almost a victory for Jack Xavier. He'll have to do more than that to put down Frankenstein. Xavier whipping James Tighe into the corner. He's motioning towards a very delicate area. But there's Mark Sloan. Sloan has grabbed his foot. What are you doing, Sloan? The referee's right there. You've been caught. The nose of the chase on. Jack Xavier is after Mark Sloan. There's going to be a... Who's that? Who's that in the ring? Oh! Oh, James Tighe certainly felt that there. Oh, that's Cammy. She used to be one of Alex Shane's ladies. Is she with Jack Xavier? What's her beef with James Tighe? Will her interference prove vital here? It's the Xaviator. Hit sweep, lateral press, and a 3 count. Jack Xavier is the victor. Jack Xavier has beaten James Tighe with a little bit of help from former Alex Shane girl, Cammy. What is the connection between Jack Xavier and Cammy? Here we see on the picture-in-picture retro cam, we see Cammy's interference, and we see the vital Xaviator, which got the 3 count for Jack Xavier. Another victory for the young rookie. Another victory for our chunky, bunky pal. Jack Xavier moves on triumphant. He's got Cammy to thank. There she is at the entrance, congratulating him. What is the story behind these 2?
Hey, all you swinging hepcats. This is Mark Priest, and when I like to get down at my funky parties, I like to listen to the music on FWA The Music Volume 1, exclusively available at fwamusic.co.uk.
This is it, ladies and gentlemen, our TV main event. We're starting early tonight. We will go until TV time elapses. There is the king of the old school, Steve Corino, accompanied by his valet, the beautiful, but I'm sure deadly, Avalon. Steve Corino personally paid his own airfare to be here tonight. He wants to take down Scott Parker. Scott Parker has been identified by Dino Scarlo as the beacon of the new school, the man who embodies everything that they hate about this new breed of wrestlers. Steve Corino, it is his mission in life to take down those people who call themselves the leaders of the new generation. He's been told by Dino Scarlo that Scott Parker is one of those people. He's here today to do something about it. There's the music of solid gold Scott Parker. He's coming to the ring confident tonight. He wants a victory, and there's nothing he won't do to get it. Okay, he says, you claim I'm the leader of the new school. I will be that leader. I will take up the challenge. I will face Steve Corino, the king of the old school, former ECW World Heavyweight Champion, former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, the man who's followed in the footsteps of such great champions as Taz, as Tommy Dreamer, as Shane Douglas, Terry Funk, as Lou Thez, Buddy Rogers, Ric Flair. All these names, these famous names, and Steve Corino is part of that lineage, part of the old school. He is part of what made wrestling great in America. But listen, pal, this ain't America. This is the United Kingdom. And that man there, Scott Parker, is the leader of our generation. He's our hero tonight, and he's going to take you down, you Yankee ass. The crowd chanting and cheering for Solid Gold Scott Parker. There's a sizable minority here who back Steve Corino. They remember his exploits in ECW and they're prepared to get behind him tonight, even though he's as good as made a deal with the devil by signing up with Dino Scalo and Drew McDonald. But most of the crowd here at Broxbourne tonight are behind Scott Parker. They're cheering him on. They want him to send this American home so he can tell his countrymen, tell the old school across the pond that the British New School is what's going down. The British New School are where it's at in wrestling today. We are the leading edge. We're the cutting edge. We are the edge of wrestling. I'm sure Steve Corino has taken time to scout Scott Parker. We've seen Scott Parker before many times on this programme. We know he's fast, he's strong, there's barely a weakness in his armoury. The last time he was defeated, it took 2 men to beat him. That was James Tighe and Mark Sloan. Together, they only just had enough to overcome Solid Gold Scott Parker. Steve Corino must know that, and I'm sure he's going to try and fight this match at his pace. A very slow, deliberate, old school pace. That's the way he likes it. He'll grind his opponent down slowly, and I don't see why it should be any different tonight. This is going to be a conflict of new versus old, new school versus old school, Parker versus Corino. We'll see you after the break for the rest of this match. This is Frontier Wrestling. Welcome back to Frontier Wrestling. We're still in the early stages of our TV main event here tonight. Solid Gold Scott Parker representing the FWA and the New School against Steve Corino, the self-styled king of the old school, brought over to the UK by Dino Scalo and Drew McDonald to take the fight to Scott Parker. They're still feeling each other out at the very early stages of this match. Neither man wanted to give much away. Neither man ready to show his cards, to lay them on the table and say, this is what I have in store for you. This should be great. But we know that Steve Corino favours the old school style. He wants to keep this slow and deliberate. I'm sure he has got a plan for Scott Parker. He wants to keep it to himself, let it unfold slowly, and let Scott Parker find out carefully, eventually, just what pain Steve Corino is going to cause him. Knife-edge chop in the corner on Scott Parker. The crowd go, woo! Reminiscent of Ric Flair, another old school hero currently seen in the WWF. Forehead to the front of the head of Scott Parker. Referee Tony Giles has got to get a grip on that. Make sure that that fist isn't open. Steve Corino thinks he's outsmarted Scott Parker, but it's Scott Parker who's outsmarted the king of the old school. Lateral press. Only a 2 count. Corino perhaps too near the ropes. Rolls outside for a bit of respite. A bit of encouragement from his manager, his valet, his wife, his girlfriend, the beautiful Avalon. Scott Parker's going on outside. He's going after Steve Corino. Corino back in the ring, back where he feels safe, between those four ring posts, encased by the ropes. And now taking it to Scott Parker. Those big right hands finding contact with Scott Parker's body and head. Parker goes to the mat and a lateral press. Only a 2 count again, a weak cover. He's got to hook the leg if he really wants to put Scott Parker away. Scott Parker's full of fight. He's full of verve. He's not going down like that, Steve Corino. Irish whip into the ropes. And a huge clothesline by Scott Parker, taking Corino down. Corino doesn't know what's hit him. It's a truck called Scott Parker. Solid gold plated, 18 wheels, 24 tons of impact, sending you to the floor. The crowd breaking into a chant of solid gold, solid gold. They're cheering, they're here, and oh my word, solid gold, Scott Parker. You believe a man can fly when you see him soar over the ring post, taking Steve Corino down onto the hard wooden floor of the arena here at Broxbourne. Steve Corino's got to be hurting now. Scott Parker careered into him like an out-of-control aeroplane, taking him down, making him wish he'd never stepped on English soil, but he's back. He's full of resilience in Steve Corino. He's fought some of the best. He's fought Dusty Rhodes. He's fought the Sandman. And now he's facing Scott Parker. He's not going to let Scott Parker humiliate him. He's not going to limp back to the United States and say, this limey beat me. He wants to put up a fight, take it to Scott Parker the best way he can. And that's with both fists up, all guns blazing. But Scott Parker's going to match him. I've lost sight a little there. They're in the crowd. We need to get fan cam over there as soon as we can. It's a bit murky at the back of the arena. These two men going at each other. No quarter asked, none given. As Avalon looks on, she's not clear what's going on either. This fight is getting out of control. There they are. They're on the stage. Solid Gold, Scott Parker and Steve Corino. This fight is in danger of getting out of control. Up until now, it's been turgid. It's been slow. Deliberate, but it's breaking out. This threatens to get out of control in the crowd, in the audience. Steve Corino taking a break on those huge FWA letters as Scott Parker takes it to him. Forearms to the back, forearms to the head. Scott Parker in control. Is this going to be? He's going for a powerbomb, but no, blocked. Oh, a backdrop. Scott Parker driven down onto the huge wooden stage that contains those FWA letters and that excited crowd. Now Corino back on top. This fight is swinging backwards and forwards between these two men. Corino now looking to put Scott Parker away. This has been his slow fight. This has been his plan all along. Nothing flashy, nothing exciting, nothing outrageous. This is what Steve Corino has got planned. This is what he's wanted to do. Oh, sweet baby Jesus! Scott Parker sent flying off the stage, down onto that hard wooden floor. I was about to say that Steve Corino wanted this to be dull. He didn't want to be this fight to be exciting. And what does he do? He throws Scott Parker off the stage. Scott Parker didn't ask for this fight, but he's got it. He readily accepted the challenge laid down by Steve Corino, as he had done just a couple of weeks ago when Drew McDonald invaded the FWA and Scott Parker stood up to him. Scott Parker agreed to fight him for the good of the FWA, for the good of the new school. Scott Parker backs down from no one, and tonight is no different, let me tell you. Avalon getting in the face of the referee and Scott Parker. Steve Corino taking advantage with a closed fist to the face of Scott Parker, taking him down to the mat, knocking all of his senses flying out of his ears, flying out of his nose, flying out of his mouth. any hole in the head of Scott Parker. All common sense left it as that fist connected with the face, with the visage of Scott Parker. And now he's groggy. He's up, but he's groggy. And Steve Corino's choking him. That wrist tape is there to give support to the wrist of Steve Corino, not to be used to choke solid gold Scott Parker. Get a grip, Tony Giles. Come on, Tony. Get on top of it. Steve Corino, he's using every old school trick in the book. And there's Avalon. Avalon choking Scott Parker on the rope. She's learned well from her master. She has learned well from Steve Corino. She's got a few old school tricks of her own, choking Scott Parker on the rope as Steve Corino distracts referee Tony Giles. Scott Parker managed to push her away, but Steve Corino comes back with a kick to the side of Scott Parker, damaging those ribs. Will those ribs ever heal on Scott Parker? We saw way back at the start of our series, at the start of Frontier Wrestling, that Doug Williams damaged the ribs of Scott Parker. Those ribs have been repeatedly injured again and again. The last time we saw Scott Parker, he was getting a cricket bat to the ribs from Dino Scalo and Drew McDonald. He'd just beaten Drew McDonald in a table match and had to suffer for that victory. He had to get a cricket bat to the middle, re-breaking those ribs, but he's come back. Lifting Steve Corino up onto his shoulder, and a shoulder breaker. A shoulder breaker on Steve Corino, taking him down to the mat, and now Steve Corino's in pain. Scott Parker's got a second win, a standing moonsault. Only a 2 count. He hooked the leg, but it just wasn't enough. Steve Corino now begging off. He's begging for mercy. Don't listen to it, Scott. I know you're a good man at heart, the kind of man who would make his mother proud, but don't fall for such old school tricks. And Avalon's tricked him. Avalon has tricked Scott Parker as he ran into the ropes. Tony Giles saw it. He's admonishing Avalon, but it allowed Steve Corino to get another closed fist to Scott Parker. Once again, Scott Parker is in cloud cuckoo land. He's seeing stars. He's seeing those tweety little birdies that you get in Warner Brothers cartoons. But he still managed to kick out on 2. Scott Parker is all about instinct now. He's keeping going by his wrestling sense alone. All intellect has left him. He's just a wrestler now. Everything Scott Parker is doing at the moment to survive is the instinct, the survival feeling of a professional wrestler. He's one of our best, ladies and gentlemen. Let's cheer him on. Let's get behind him against the dastardly king of the old school, Steve Corino. I told you earlier that this match would be slow. It would be deliberate. Exactly the way that Steve Corino likes it. He wants to take Scott Parker apart, piece by piece by piece, and he'll do it at his own pace. He won't get tricked into speeding up where Scott Parker might get the advantage. And that sleeper hold there that Steve Corino is applying is exactly the kind of way he would like to finish this fight. Get down lower. Referee Tony Giles checking Scott Parker's arm, and look, Corino getting extra leverage on his sleeper hold by putting his feet on the middle rope. That's just not on. That's just not cricket. That's rum behaviour. This isn't British. Come on, Scott Parker. Send the Yank home. You're doing it for us, Scots. Parker trying to get the crowd going now. He's trying to get them clapping a rhythm so that he can work off that rhythm. And a few elbows to the inside. And he's beating Steve Corino off, but no. Once again, Steve Corino back with that sleeper hold, taking Scott Parker down to the mat as referee Tony Giles once again checks Scott Parker's arm. If that arm falls 3 times, it's all over. Steve Corino has won with a submission. That's 2. Tony Giles lifts the arm for a 3rd time. No! Scott Parker, he wouldn't let it fall. He wouldn't let the arm hit the mat a 3rd time. The fight isn't over. Scott Parker hasn't submitted. He's fighting back. He's coming back for all of us. He's doing it for the new school. He's doing it for the FWA. He's doing it for you. He's doing it for me. He's doing it for your gran sitting at home in the parlour saying, "Get on his feet like I would." Elbow takes Steve Corino down, and Scott Parker following up with some more forearms to the face of Steve Corino. Steve Corino getting a taste of his own medicine. I've called Scott Parker a pharmacist on this TV series before, and I'll say it again. He's dishing out the medicine. There it is, Mr. Corino. I hope it tastes good. I hear a spoonful of sugar help. Only a 2 count again. Steve Corino finding the strength to kick out. Scott Parker's got to look to finish this soon. It's been a grueling fight. He's on top now, but the pendulum nature of this bout means that it may swing back as soon as a hiccup. Scott Parker needs to pick Corino up and hit him with a devastating move. Perhaps something like the golden arrow. We've seen Scott Parker use that to great effect before. Will we see it again? Yes! Yes! Golden arrow! Cover him! 1, 2. There's Dino Scalo and Drew McDonald. The cameras will keep rolling. We'll see you next week.